Welcome back to another episode of the Anchor Academy. On today's episode, we'll be setting up and grinding a ball nose end mill. We'll start with the machine setup, the work holding and the wheel pack, which we've already covered in episodes 1 and 5 of the Anchor Academy, so make sure you go and check that out. Following the machine setup, we'll be designing a tool on the machine using the ball nose wizard in iGrind. Following this, we'll go through the dry run process and finally we'll grind the tool. At the end of today's episode, we're also going to be having a discussion with one of our applications experts here about some of the common issues and questions people have about ball nose end mill grinding. We've got a fair bit to get through, so let's get into it. Now, the first step in our machine setup is the work holding setup. Today I'm using a W25 Premier Plus PCA collet adapter, and this is a great work holding system for grinding round tools because it gives us plenty of clamp force and also allows us to adjust out any radial or axial run out. Now, I've already set this unit up here today, so I won't be going through that, but if you go and check out episode 1 of the Anchor Academy, we cover this in detail from start to finish, so I encourage you to do that. All right, next up, wheel pack setup. I'm holding here a wheel pack very similar to the one that we set up in the previous episode. It has the same wheels, the 1A1, the 1V1, and the 11V9 in the same configuration. Now this is a very flexible wheel pack. It can be used to grind a wide range of tool types. But today we'll be using this 1A1 to do the fluting operation and the plunge heel clearance. We'll be using the 1V1 to grind the gash, and then the cup wheel to do the primary relief on the OD and ball. Now this is not the only wheel pack that you could use to grind this tool. You do have several options when choosing a wheel for a given operation, but this is a very standard configuration, so that's what we'll be using today. All right, I'm going to leave this wheel pack here, and now we'll move over to the machine and get started designing our tool using the wizard. Now that we've set up our work holding system and we've mounted and qualified our wheel pack in the wheel editor, it's time to generate our tool file using the wizard. So we'll open iGrind, and here we'll select Create a Tool using the end mill wizard. And today we're going to grind a ball nose end mill with 4 flutes and a 5mm ball radius. So a 10mm diameter, 4 flute ball nose end mill. These are all selected by default, but you have a few options here: carbide or HSS. What's your material? Today it'll be carbide. Manufacturing from solid or resharpening, we'll be grinding from solid. And helix lead. Next is the end face style. So here we'll be using the default 2 long, 2 short, but there are a few other end face styles to choose from. As I mentioned, we'll be using the helix OD type rather than lead. Right hand cut, right hand helix, and we'll be using a 30-degree helix angle today. Next window, you have a few other options, including the OD. We can choose an eccentric relief rather than the default facet, but we'll be going with the facet relief today. We can add chip breakers or a sealand, and there are a few other options on this window too. But today we're just going to use the defaults. So we'll click Finish. Now the wheel selection window is open. Now iGrind automatically assigns the most suitable wheel for a given operation. Now you can click the operation and see a few requirements here, are requirements of the wheel to perform that operation. If all of the requirements are met, you'll see the window colored like this. Occasionally you might see one of the operations highlighted in yellow, and what that means is that one of these requirements is not met. For instance, the toroid radius here must be less than 0.11. If it's larger than 0.11 and we're using that toroid to grind some part of the geometry, for instance, when we're gashing, the bottom blend might be programmed to be a very small radius, but we have a large toroid, well then this will show up as yellow here because although we can still grind the gash, we may not get the geometry exactly as we programmed. The other thing you might see is if it's highlighted in red. Now that means it's completely invalid and we can't grind that operation with that wheel, so you'll have to go back and choose a different wheel. So let's go OK here. And here you see we have our tool file generated. You can see what the tool will look like in the simulation window, and here we also have our operation list. Going through the digitize operation, we have a few parameters here to control how the digitizing is done. I'm not going to go into any details about specific parameters in any of these operations because we'll just use the defaults that were given to us from the wizard. So same with fluting. We have a lot of parameters here that we can change. but these have all been created by the wizard, and so on with plunge heel clearance, ball gash, and OD finish. The next thing you'll see on the right of this is the wheel selection. So in here, we can go to a window which allows us to select different wheels if we want to. Also, it allows us to define the wheel speed. So we can use wheel defaults, and that's actually taking the speed that we define as the default speed when we qualified the wheel pack. Or we can specify a specific speed in either surface speed or RPM for the given wheel. So we can do that for all of our operations here. Now the final thing to the right of that is the feed rate. Now we can change the feed rate here, and again, these feed rates are chosen by the wizard, and they're actually chosen based upon what material we decided. And here we're grinding carbide, and these feed rates are suitable for carbide. So that's it, we've created our tool file. Before we move on though, I'd just like to talk about Anker's simulation software package, Sim3D. Now today we designed the tool in iGrind on the machine itself, and we can see this tool in the simulation window. This simulation shows us exactly what the tool will look like, assuming we've qualified all our wheels correctly. This simulation window though is only just a viewer and doesn't contain any of the functionality that the complete software package does. And for that reason, it's more common that tools are designed offline using the simulator and then brought to the machine when it's time to grind. The simulator has many features which are useful for tool grinding, including clearance checking. We can run through the entire grinding cycle to see if anything is hitting or there are going to be any crashes in the machine. We can measure different geometry on the tool, for instance, the hook angle or the land width, just to make sure that the tool is exactly what we want. We can also modify and adjust parameters and instantly see the effect on the geometry, which can be really useful. And finally, another really useful part of the Sim3D software is that we can see the grind point for every wheel, for every operation, which will help us when we're setting our coolant pipes, which is the next step. So let's go and do that now. Now, coolant delivery is very important and can influence the efficiency of your grinding, how fast you can grind, what cycle time you'll achieve, the tool quality, and the rate of wheel wear that you're likely to see. So it's very important that we get this right. The most important aspect of setting up your coolant pipes is making sure that the nozzles are accurately directed at the grind point. And this is where the simulator comes in handy. I ran this tool through the simulator and observed the grind point of each wheel for each operation, and I've set up the coolant pipes accordingly. For this tool, we're using the 1A1 to do the fluting operation, and here we have a fixed point at about 630 on the back toroid of the 1A1 wheel, and that's what this nozzle is aiming at. Then we have the plunge heel clearance operation, which is at about 730 on the 1A1 wheel, and that's what this nozzle is aiming at. After the plunge heel clearance, we have the gashing operation, and that starts at about 630 and rolls up to about 730 on this 1V1 wheel on the back toroid. So that's what this nozzle is aiming at. And then finally, we have the OD ball operation, and that starts at about 9 o'clock on the wheel and rolls around to about 10:30. So that's what this nozzle is aiming at there. Now, it might not always be possible to direct your nozzle exactly at the grind point, particularly in the case where the grind point is moving around the wheels, such as in this OD ball operation. Now, you have a couple of options there. You could set up an additional coolant pipe at more than one place along the path. For instance, we could have another coolant pipe here at, say, 10:30, or we can use the headstock coolant pipe here to provide the remaining coolant when the grind point rolls past this nozzle here. So that will be on throughout the entire tool, and that will just be hitting the tool itself throughout the grind. At this stage, we just want to make sure that the coolant pipes are all pretty much in the right spot. They don't need to be exactly correct, because we will probably tweak this before we do our grind. But for now, they do need to be in approximately the right position for the next step in our process, which is the dry run. Before we do our dry run, there's one more step, and that is to qualify the work holding system. Earlier, we already set it up and trued it, but what we haven't done yet is teach the machine where the front face of the collet is, and that's what we'll do now. So we'll start by inserting a tool all the way in. And we'll close the door and open the application menu, machine configurator. And this will display the active work holding system. In this case, it's already correct. We can choose from a large range of other work holding systems though, if we need. The next step is to choose the size. We're grinding a 10mm tool. We have a 10mm collet in there, so 9 to 12. And then finally, we hit digitize and apply. Then it's going to ask us to MPG the machine until the probe is close to the collet front face. Here, and press acknowledge. And there we go, the work holding system's qualified. The next step in the setup is the dry run. The dry run's a very important final step before we grind a tool for the first time. It'll give us confidence that we're not going to crash the machine, that there are no clearance issues at any point in the grinding cycle. Even if we've done a full simulation in the Sim3D software, it's still very important to do this dry run on the machine itself before we grind a tool. That's because the Sim3D, while it will accurately model the wheel and work holding and tool, there are certain things that aren't captured, such as the coolant pipes, headstock coolant pipe, maybe some other accessories like a tool support system that wasn't in your simulation. So it's just a very good idea to always dry run as your final step before grinding a tool. We'll go through the dry run step by step, first of which is to insert your tool into the collet, making sure that the protrude length is the same as your tool file, in this case 50mm. Next we'll close the door and press the dry run button up here. So we'll press cycle start, and the first thing that will happen is it will digitize end of tool. Now it will ask us to unload the dry run tool. Rather than fully unloading it, it's better to just push the tool all the way into the collet. Press cycle start, and now it's going to go through every operation exactly as it would if it were grinding the tool. But because the tool now has been pushed into the collet, we're not actually physically going to touch the tool. So, first operation, flute from solid. We can control the dry run in the automatic mode using the feed rate pot, like normal. I think a good strategy is to use the feed rate pot right up until you have a potential clearance issue, and when things are getting very close, what you can do is kill the feed rate, open the door, and switch over to MPG mode. Now we can use the MPG wheel to control the grinding move, and we can do it in a much more precise way. And so what we can do now, if we think we're very close, a telescopic mirror can be really handy. This will allow us to see on the back side of the wheel. Okay, yeah, plenty of clearance. So we can continue. Now we're on the retract move, and we've successfully dry run our first flute. So we would continue this way through all of the fluting operations, then the gashing, OD ball, and once we're happy we have no clearance issues, we're not going to crash the machine, we can be confident to grind our tool with no problems. So that's the dry run process. So our setup's complete, and we've done our dry run. We're sure we're not going to crash the machine, everything looks good, so it's time to grind a tool. We'll start by inserting the blank into the collet, making sure that the protrude length is correct. Close the door. Now you can see here in the operation list, the first thing is the digitize end of tool operation. We can perform that operation at the same time as all the other grinding operations, or we can do it first. That's what we'll do today. So we'll deselect our grinding operations with only our digitize EOT operation active. Press grind, turn the feed rate up, cycle start. Okay, so the digitize end of tool is complete. Now we can press mode regrind and reselect our grinding operations, and the mode regrind will just apply the previous digitized values to these grinding operations. So now we'll press grind, cycle start, and we'll come back to a bore nose end mill.